Hey friends, welcome to episode 610 of the My 123 Cents podcast. That means we are 9 weeks away from hopefully, still got my fingers crossed, Rey Mysterio or Dominic Mysterio. And I've got to work more. Welcome, by the way, Chad Smart, to the podcast. It's been a while. Uh, it's been a while since I've recorded a podcast in real time because the last 2 weeks we're recording, putting the can. So, Chad, welcome
Mm.
back to the show this week.
Great to be back. And if you can't get Rey Mysterio or Dom, what about Rey Mysterio Sr.? Is he still alive? Could you get him on the show?
You know, I think I've told this story before, but the first Rey Mysterio that I saw was Rey Mysterio Sr. Saw him live at Starrcade 1990. So, who is the uncle of Rey Mysterio?
Mhm.
And again, as we go back, and I still think people think it's Rey, like his name is Rey, but Rey
Yeah.
is king. So, and we'll probably talk more about in the coming weeks with stories and storylines going on and whatnot of uh, the impending. I think it was mentioned earlier this year that Ray wants to retire at some point to Dominic. So, do you think when that happens, if that happens, that Dominic becomes the new Ray, or will they continue to carve Dominic's unique path that he has started a while
Yeah.
ago? And by the way, I am drinking water and coffee this morning because just back from a trip to Japan, and I am jet lagged as hell. So I'm on my second cup of coffee and another cup of
Weak.
water. So yeah, I
Yeah.
am weak.
Um, Getting to your point, yeah, as I mentioned on the King of the Ring episode that we did a few weeks ago, I think the only way Dominic becomes a Rey Mysterio is if he becomes King of the Ring,
Hmm.
because Rey, R-E-Y, means king in Spanish, so then he could be Rey Dominic Mysterio. Um, but I think when it comes time for Ray to retire, I think Aaliyah's going to show up and retire him and join Dominic and be the Shane and Stephanie of the Mysterios.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, she is training. I've read so. Um, This week, we are going to kind of be more current. Yeah, I like to typically keep the podcast in the past and talking about things like that. We have done several current event episodes here lately. We're going to continue that trend as we look at SummerSlam. And Chad, it's hard to believe we're coming up on nearly, I think this is 38 years of SummerSlam. Um, do you remember the very first SummerSlam back in 1988? Did you watch it? I know we've talked before about the big satellite dish. We've probably talked about this
Mm.
specifically, but after 610 episodes, we'll refresh people's memories. Did you watch? I remember it was on a Monday night. It would have been my sophomore year in high school, so I guess you were probably a freshman because you're a year behind me,
Yep.
uh, or I'm a year older, as you like to remind me. Did you watch live or record? My buddy recorded it, I remember. And I remember hearing the news about the Honky Tonk Man finally losing the IC title. I was a big Honky Tonk Man fan at the time and was disappointed. But the Ultimate Warrior proved to be, in my opinion, a decent Intercontinental Champion. But thoughts, memories of that first event?
Yeah, I didn't watch live. I remember being in Florida visiting family um, over the summer,
Hmm.
and I think I must have been home alone or something because I was watching TV by myself, and because my cousins were not wrestling fans. And I remember stopping on the WWE programming at the time, and then I went to the event center, and they're like SummerSlam coming up. I'm like, what is SummerSlam?
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that they were launching something new. Um, but no, I mean, I remember hearing about the show after it happened because hearing about Miss Elizabeth
Oh, yeah.
and um, but yeah, I don't even recall when was like the first, if we rented the videotape when the video store finally got it four
Yeah.
months later or
Hmm.
not, but um, yeah, so I can't tell. I don't have very many firsthand memories
Hmm.
of of SummerSlam.
Yeah. I don't know why that I guess it's because it's the first. I remember the first WrestleMania. I remember the first Royal Rumble. I remember the first of the big four. I remember all of them specifically, either watching or talking about the results the next day at school, because back then that's kind of what my little nerd herd did. We talked about wrestling and all of that good stuff. So, and this was, the formative years of being, WrestleMania was obviously a few years earlier, but the others were, I was in high school, so I have a much clearer memory of that, even though it was a long time
Mhm.
ago. But we've talked before about WrestleMania and its evolution, and because of COVID
Mhm.
forcing two nights for the first WrestleMania, which, to me, thinking back now and looking back on it, that because we were still doing PLEs or the pay-per-view events in that era, that COVID era,
Mhm.
were happening from the training, or what's it called, the Performance Center. Um, but they only did WrestleMania two nights. I don't think they did anything else two
Yeah.
nights. Well, now we've evolved, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first PLE since WrestleMania to get a second night with two nights of SummerSlam now. We've talked before. I
Mhm.
still am of the mindset of I prefer one night. I do like the afternoon shows, uh,
Mhm.
just for the convenience and ease of it,
Yeah.
and then being able to continue on with the night. But what are your thoughts on two nights of SummerSlam? I know you're actually going to be traveling during some of this, so it's probably not going to be convenient
Mhm.
for your viewing time.
No, I think Royal Rumble is the only PLE that I could justify having two nights because
Mm,
you have,
yeah,
the men's rumble and the women's rumble on each night. So it separates those two instead of
yeah,
having two long matches on the
sure.
show. I don't, I am not a fan of the two nights. Especially given, and I know with with SummerSlam, I think there's going to be 12 matches across the two nights,
Hmm.
which is six matches per night.
Hmm.
Um, it's still too much gaga and filler for the
Yeah,
show. I'm expecting. I mean, we're recording this the night that AEW's Redemption is going on, and I think there's probably 27 matches going to be on that show just on one night.
yeah,
So uh, I, I think two nights. I think the success of Mania probably pushed them to try, like, oh, let's take our biggest show of the summer and make it two nights as well. But SummerSlam and WrestleMania are two different beasts. WrestleMania is, like we said, it's the Super Bowl, it's the World Series, it's the one that people travel specifically to go see.
yeah,
I don't think SummerSlam has that appeal. And you look at tickets right now, they're only averaging, I think they're about 30,000 per night in a stadium that holds 70,000 for football.
hmm
And I don't even think they're using the majority of the stadium
mm.
because ticket sales have been so low. Um,
Now, and I'm not being a WWE apologist, but it's going to come out that way.
okay,
It's
Bully
my
Ray
what's that?
said, okay, Bully Ray.
It's my understanding that, a lot of these business decisions are
Yeah.
set and established by TKO, the
Yeah.
parent company. This is no longer, obviously, for many years, it hasn't been Vince's WWE. But do you think, because corporate wrestling is obviously, and we're seeing it now, much different than, you know, uh, Tony Tony Khan comes to mind as
Independent. Yeah.
I don't want to necessarily say independent, not being like in a church parking lot or something like that, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Just not
not
corporate.
non-corporate wrestling, the way WWE, I guess, used to be many, many years
Mhm.
ago.
Mom and pop, let's say.
Mom and pop, we would not see um, these exorbitant ticket prices. I know they brought back house shows, the WWE did, for part of
Mhm.
the summer. I don't know how those did as far as ticket sales go, or attendance or anything like that. But the business part of things continue to evolve, and I think, despite the record numbers of ticket sales and ad sales
Mhm.
and all this, it comes at a price, I think, and that is.
A
customer,
very steep price.
yeah, well, consumer confidence, customer satisfaction, and that kind of stuff. And we've talked for months now, if not years, about the number of commercials during PLEs or about the commercial breaks during Raw on
Mm,
Netflix and those types of things. It seems like they listened a little bit and lowered prices, but I think their hands were forced at one point to do that.
so,
Do you think with this latest look at SummerSlam and sales are sluggish? And I'll be honest, 14 days in Japan, I have not kept up on a lot of the current events going on, but I have seen that story about the ticket sales. Will TKO come to its senses and realize that wrestling is not like UFC, where it's not older demographic. This is WWE is wrestling, I think, professional wrestling. That's how I got started into it, was
mm,
a family thing. If prices where they were in the 80s as they are today,
yeah.
I don't know that I would have ever been introduced to the product because we
Mm.
went to live shows quite often, and I'm fortunate for that. Um, do you think there'll ever come a time where they go back to being more family friendly as far as the pricing structure goes?
Yeah. First off, I'm going to do a little self promotion and plugging here.
Hmm.
Over on the Out of Touchstone YouTube channel, I have a new series, Question Everything, where we're talking fandom. You were on episode 2. Um, we've got 3 episodes up right now as of this recording, and it all deals with sports, and it deals with the importance of attending live sports
Hmm.
as a factor in getting fans and becoming fans. And I do think that is a key, uh, one aspect of becoming a diehard fan is being able to go and watch in person. So I think it will be interesting going forward to see how the prices are, because I know with SummerSlam, like I said, their ticket sales have not been what I would have expected to be, since they're in the Minnesota Vikings stadium. I would have expected 50,000 minimum, because I think that's what they did last year for at MetLife.
Uh-huh.
And I know there's a promotion going on. I don't know if it's still going on, but if you use a code, you can get $25 tickets. I don't know where those tickets are in the state. I'm guessing they're not on the field.
Your couch at home.
Yeah. Um, and so the tomorrow, as when the show drops,
Yeah.
January 27th or July 27th, well, July 20. I'm jet lagged.
Yeah.
July 27th, Raw is here in LA at the Intuit Dome.
Okay.
Looking at prices.
Yeah.
So I was at AEW Revolution back in March.
Yes.
7th row on the floor.
Okay.
For what I paid for that ticket, face value, I can go sit in the nosebleeds and watch Obafemi and Brock Lesnar have a weigh-in, not an actual match. So that's, there's no way I would go to Raw or SmackDown right now,
Right.
given the price and the lack of wrestling that you're going to get.
Yeah.
Now, it's corporate. So, yes, TKO doesn't care. Although the story came out while you were in Japan about JP Morgan company saying something about consumer confidence in WWE, and stock prices dropped for TKO.
Mm.
And again, I know nothing about the stock market. I know
Yeah.
nothing, but I have to think that if stock prices are dropping, that's not good.
No.
And changes, you don't want knee-jerk reactions, but is it something where you say, like, okay, what's the problem? Why were we so hot a year or 2 years ago and now we're not? And I think part of that is wrestling is cylindrical. It's got its ups and downs. But uh, you know, I know I'm the AEW apologist, you're the WWE apologist for the show. I ask you, is there anything at SummerSlam that you're really looking forward to see?
Honestly, and I'm looking at the card, I
Mhm.
love both Dominic Mysterio and Danhausen, so I'm curious to see what they're going to do here with that particular match.
Mhm.
Do they give Danhausen his first loss? Do they can be? I do think Dominic has cooled off a bit, and
Mhm.
so I will be interested to see what happens there. I am interested in the um, Hell in a Cell with you mentioned Brock and Oba. So
Let me rephrase.
yeah.
Are you $500
Oh no,
interested in anything?
no. I wouldn't. Now, if SummerSlam were down the road in
Yeah.
Nashville, or if Nashville probably too far. If SummerSlam were in St. Louis,
Hmm.
and I could get a decent ticket, I would definitely go because I've never been to a SummerSlam before. So, just from that perspective, I would go for maybe a couple $100, but I would not. And no, they would have to be decent seats, but no,
Yeah.
there's nothing.
And would
Um,
you go 2 nights? Or do you think? I mean, because we've done one 2 night WrestleMania.
yeah,
And again, to me, it was too much.
it is too much, and I think what TKO or whomever is making these decisions, because again, and I'm not trying to be an apologist, but people point at Triple H and Nick Khan and the creative and that side of things, but I do think that they are being told certain stories to tell
Mhm.
by TKO, by corporate, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think that. I think the whole Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll, we talked about that before. I think that was coming from someone else. Obviously, yes, they have incorporated celebrities many times before, but not to this level, and it just didn't feel.
It didn't fit the story.
Yeah, and so I think that in some case, and you talked about with the consumer confidence, and now TKO can point and say, well, this is Paul Levesque's fault for this or this or this, whereas I still believe that some of it, yeah, falls on creative's hands, but I think some of it also comes from that top tier that's telling creative, okay, we're going to head in this direction. We want to incorporate this celebrity or do whatever with this. Um, but you had an original question in there. Now I'm kind of,
My question was, are you how interested in SummerSlam are
I
you?
mean,
The
I'm
stuff that's going on. Again, if
mildly.
mildly, it, how do I want to phrase it? If you had other plans, if you had options for other things going on SummerSlam, would you? What would you prioritize? SummerSlam or something else?
I think it would depend on the plans, if our friends were having, but I've always done that. I think I've told the story before. 2 years ago, or the 2024 Royal Rumble, uh,
Mm.
I watched it from a bar in Alton, Illinois. I guess we were at some, or no, in Waterloo. We went with a group of friends, and um, I'd never want to miss the Rumble, so I'm like sitting there watching it. Like
Mhm.
there are a handful of shows that I want to see live,
Yeah.
WrestleMania and Royal Rumble. SummerSlam's not there because I don't even know. I'm trying to think. I can't even tell you.
Mm.
Oh, it was Cena and Cody. I was like, I couldn't even tell you what the main event of last year's SummerSlam was. I did watch that live. So, but I caught it. I didn't watch start to finish live. I caught the last part of it. So anyway, uh, as you age and you have different priorities and different
Yeah.
relationships and things going on in your life, I think you change your priority list as far as it comes to watching wrestling. I know you have because you've texted me before and said, "Don't tell me anything because I'm not watching live." So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't, I wouldn't necessarily blame that on WWE. Just as like I know tonight, as we're recording this, you're going to have time and the ability to watch. What is it? Revolution
Redemption.
or
Redemption.
Redemption live. Uh,
Yeah. Normally, I would not watch it live. I would
yeah,
watch late at
normally you
night, but
wouldn't, and that's not an indictment on AEW. That's just an
mm,
indict or not an indictment, but you're
indication of my
prioritizing,
fandom. Yeah.
yeah, your other events in your life. So, from that perspective, yeah, I am very curious to see what they do with Nick
Mhm.
Aldis. He is, to my knowledge, not wrestled in WWE and has not wrestled in years. I guess he's been with WWE at least a
Three
couple.
year. I think it's been 3 years
Wow.
since he last wrestled.
What are
And
your thoughts
what?
on that?
Well, finding out that Nick Aldis is younger than Cody Rhodes, that was shocking.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I remember Nick in TNA, seeing him a little bit there, and as NWA champion, I saw a few of his matches. He's never one that I was like, oh my gosh, this guy needs a bigger state. He needs to be on WWE. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with Gunther.
Yeah.
Um, my issue with that match, and again, this is picking nits all over the place and just trying to be a little sarcastic. Is I guess on SmackDown he relinquished the GM role
Hmm.
for the match, but then what happens after the match? Like, does he just go back to being GM and be like, oh, okay, everything's
Yeah.
fine, we got that out of our system, or is he going to become a full-time wrestler and they bring in Teddy Long, to be GM again? Um, and he keeps trying to bring out the Undertaker, and the Undertaker's like, I'm too busy booking El Grande Americano. I don't know. So I, you know, this is where I think WWE could have probably booked this match sooner and then try to get footage either from TNA or NWA, who they seem to have some type of good relationship with, because Natty just competed at NWA
Hmm.
78 last night, to show the fans who Nick Aldis is. And I think, you know, that's an issue with, I guess, current wrestling storytelling is WWE has their universe. They have their kind of little bubble. When
Hmm.
guys come in, it's like, oh, here's this new guy who's never done anything. They've been a little bit more open with the guys
Yeah,
on
I
the
think
indies,
I
but
think it's been a bit more open since the Vince era.
they still don't show you. They just tell you
Yeah.
like, hey, this guy's really good. It's like, okay, what?
They
You can
assume,
tell me
and
that.
I
Yeah.
think both companies are, or I don't know about TNA,
Mm,
but yeah, I think both companies assume the fans are in on more than maybe some of them are, especially the casual fan.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what type of reaction Nick Aldis gets in his
Hmm.
match.
Hmm.
And again, I mean, I think SummerSlam you are going to get um, a good portion of the crowd knowledgeable. So hopefully it goes well. I don't think, if it'd been just a random Raw or SmackDown where he comes out and wrestles, I don't know if the reaction would be the same.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And we're not going to go through every match on the card. I just kind of picking out some of the bigger uh, ones that are being highlighted. The women's match for the title, I guess Rhea Ripley is injured. We talked about that or speculated about that a couple of weeks ago, I feel like, on this show.
Yeah.
A ladder match, I know my girl Chelsea Green is qualified.
Yeah.
She's the only one I've seen who has qualified.
Tiffany's Tiffany's in that match, right?
I don't know. I literally Chelsea
Oh,
was
I thought
the only one I saw that had qualified. So
no, I thought you
I'm
had the
sure there are obviously others that have, but I haven't seen anything else.
because
And
I was going to say I
WWE's
think
website just says it's a ladder match.
Tiffany is the U.S. champion, I believe.
Hmm. Yes.
And so it's like, why? I mean, I guess you're like, oh, she's U.S. champion. That's one below the world champ, so she should be in there. But why not have her defending
Mm.
the U.S. championship?
Hmm.
Same way I think Damian Priest was in the four-way to crown the number one number. He was in the four-way match, which I guess technically was the number two contender match to the number one contender match that they'll face Sammy to face the winner
Yeah.
in a future. And it's like he's tag team champion. Why? Which they haven't done anything with the tag team
Right.
titles since
Yeah.
they won them. Like, why are you not? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. There are some questionable things with all of that. Chelsea Green seems to be the it girl as far as the IWC goes. Will WWE ever pull the trigger on her? I know or not Billy Gunn, Road Dogg or Brian James recently made some comments about Chelsea and wanting to push her when he was still with WWE Creative.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? Does she deserve that? She is that kind of utility player. Will go out there and do what they give her, and kind
Yeah.
of like Vince McMahon used to say, "You'll eat shit and learn how to love the taste of it." And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like she has exemplified that
Hey,
Will
I thought the Janelle Grant case was being dismissed.
stop, stop. Is it Chelsea's time to shine, or are there certain performers out there who are destined, to be the bridesmaid and never the bride, as they say?
Yeah, it's just thinking, is it a curse to be too good?
Hmm.
Because if you can manage doing whatever they give you, then are you seen as just more of a utility player and not a focus? I think it was when the last season of Unreal came out, and Michael Hayes made some comment about Chelsea
Hmm.
that set the internet ablaze for a few days.
Yeah.
You know, I'm one. I've never gotten the Chelsea. I don't want to say love. Like again, I think she's talented. She's good, but the character doesn't resonate with me
Mm.
in any across TNA or WWE. So yeah, but I do think she is probably a victim of being too good and being able to be a character that can either draw heat or cheers depending on the situation.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, you're instead of being the top dog, you're going to be out there to make others look
Yeah.
good, And because I look at, just thinking like obviously Roman Reigns has been the face of the company for the last decade.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it's fair to compare him to Chelsea in this example, but he is not someone that I would ever send. I mean, my bias. I would never send him out there anyway. But I
Right.
would never send him out there to make someone else look good. It's like
Hmm.
whoever he's fighting is making him
Hmm.
be the focus. So, um, but I think at some point you got to listen to the fans.
Yeah.
And I would think, and I know Chelsea's been U.S. champ,
Hmm.
and I think she was like mixed tag champs in AAA with Ethan Page,
Yeah.
um, and I know her Secret Hervis. One of them I believe, got released. The other is injured.
Hmm.
So I think has she been doing something with Tiffany? Have they
Yeah,
been
her and
teaming up?
Tiffany have kind of formed an alliance. So,
Yeah. So, and again, I think that might be a good tag team that you could
mhm.
throw into the women's tag division. So,
Well, you mentioned him, Roman Reigns, facing Seth Rollins. This feels like the feud that would never end. Um, I like the Shield much better as a collective unit than as individuals.
mm.
Um, obviously Dean Ambrose is out of the mix, and as
I don't
I've
know. I
read
think I've heard he's going to show up at SummerSlam.
yeah, I see those AI generated, but I don't ever think we'll see him back in the company. But um, this match is one of those that I'm like, meh. What are your, I have a feeling you
I don't
probably
care.
feel the same exact way because we got that as part of a triple threat last year at WrestleMania. Uh,
Yeah.
that they've, at WrestleMania 40, they were part of that tag team match against each other, Roman and
Yeah.
Seth, that is.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm over it.
Mhm.
And that keeps touting it as kind of the last good. I'm glad that this is the last time because it was 20, I think 2015, so 11 years ago,
Yeah.
the Shield broke up, and I think that Roman and Seth reunited at some point along the way, and they've been, it's kind of like the Undertaker and Kane feud.
Mhm.
You know, they get together, they break up, they kind of find their way back to each other, and in some cases that works. I don't mind the weaving in and out of the stories, but for this one, for whatever reason, uh, I
It just,
just I don't
yeah,
care.
it just seems like something you go to when you have nothing else
Hmm.
to do.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, again, as I just said, I don't care to see Roman Reigns wrestle. Seth
Hmm.
Rollins, the last probably 4 or 5 years has just really, I've been like, okay, good, fine, just move on. Like I'm over that character. Like I know, when he was a heel, he was supposed to be the annoying heel, and it's like to me, it wasn't. Uh, it's go away heat, as they say,
Yeah,
not I want to see you get beat up heat.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I don't care about this match. And it's probably going to go on way too long.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and I don't like. I'm tired of the bloodline. I don't need to see version 27 of the bloodline. So if Solo is going to turn on his tag team partners in their 6-man match and align with the bloodline, yeah, don't care.
Well, we touched briefly on it, and we're only going to do a couple more here
Yeah,
and wrap things up. But Oba and Brock in the Hell in a Cell. uh, I mean, the smart money's got to be on Obafemi, right? I mean, this
you
is
would think.
the rocket ship has been
Mhm.
engaged, so I can't imagine him not winning this.
So I think we kind of talked about this on the last time I was on the show, right after King of the Ring.
Hmm.
And then we have Oba wins King of the Ring. He gets the title shot. He
Hmm.
comes out, on Raw and says, I can get a title shot anytime. So I want to face Brock. And it's like, it seemed to be at that point like they were just moving the title shot down the road.
Yeah,
But now he's come out and said, no, I've totally given up my title shot for winning King of the Ring. And it's like, then why have him win King of the Ring? If you're
right.
not going to honor that stipulation, and I would be, I guess, more forgiving if they just said, okay, he's postponing from SummerSlam until whatever the next pay-per-view is, or Survivor Series, or whatever. But
Hmm.
to have him just come on and be like, yeah, I don't care about that title shot. I'll get it later because I have to beat the guy that I've already beaten. I just
Yeah,
I don't get it. But yeah, I mean, I think this match will probably should be a decent hoss fight
yeah.
match. I don't see them going to the top of the cage and fighting and falling off the cage. Although who knows? Um, but I think it has to. I mean, his Oba's win at WrestleMania was decisive.
Right.
So I think again, this one has to be another one where he has to show that he is the ruler of the yard.
Well, as I've heard on other podcasts, they have not
No,
done anything, in my opinion, to warrant this to be a Hell in a Cell.
no,
They haven't had, people interfering on either one's behalf. It's
yeah,
been straight up Brock versus Oba.
hmm
And typically you put guys in a cage or girls in a cage because of, outside interference and you want to be a decisive, uh, and I guess this will be, that kind of cherry on
yeah,
top, rubber match series, ending it in a decisive manner perhaps. But
yeah. I think Roman and Seth could justify the Hell in a Cell step better with the Vision and the Bloodline
hmm,
being
sure.
kept out.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm not saying I'm saving the best for last, but as far as if we're comparing potential main events here, I am more interested in Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk than I am the other match. And I know that they had a tag match at Saturday night's main event. Um, what are your thoughts, Cody and Punk? There was a kind of a tease, I guess, 2 years ago for this match, and now we're finally getting it. To my knowledge, these two have not wrestled each other in singles competition, but I could be wrong about that.
I don't think they have. Maybe not. Not since Cody became
Hmm. The
face of the WWF, WWE. Um, yeah, we didn't get to talk about CM Punk winning the title from Sammy, and I don't know if you saw any of that highlights from that Raw,
I
but
I did
again,
see that Raw where Punk won, so.
okay. So again, I'm being IWC internet troll
Hmm.
saying this. Cody gets taken out of the match. So follow this. Try to explain this to me. Cody gets taken out of the match by Gunther.
Hmm.
Adam Pearce says, "No, we promised these people a match. We have to give them a match."
Hmm.
You're backstage at Raw. You can't find any other wrestler that wants to possibly be champion. You have to call somebody in, and you can say like, "Well, it's the title. It's the SmackDown Championship. It should go to someone on SmackDown."
Hmm.
Well, it doesn't go to someone on SmackDown. It goes to a guy who's a Raw wrestler. Um, and then when they open the garage door and Punk is just standing outside in his gear. Like, did he just walk to the arena in his gear? Why is he staying? Like, it just, and obviously, again, it's wrestling. We've seen it so many times. We knew where the
Right.
story was going.
Yeah.
You know it was going to be Punk. And to just put the title on him and take it off Sammy, I'm not a fan. And again, Cody is right there under Roman Reigns as guys that I don't care to see in title matches or actually wrestle in WWE. I don't, the character doesn't resonate with me. So I was glad that they finally got around. I think this last week on SmackDown that CM Punk did call him Dusty's kid, because you got to get a Dusty reference in on every Cody feud. But yeah, like I said, given the 12 matches on the 2 nights, I would put both title matches as the second match on each night, because I don't want them curtain jerking, because that's a match where you got to set your tone.
Yeah.
But get them out of the way and give me Penta versus Chad Gable. Give me the women's. I'm trying to think who's
Io Sky and Liv Morgan.
Io Sky and Liv Morgan. Even though I just saw that at the last show. I don't think Danhausen and Dominic is up to main eventing, but and again, after Saturday night's Nick event, I just think that Danhausen is better in short segments if you're going to have all the goofiness going on.
Yeah, I still worry that he's going to get people are going to burn out on him.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what Halloween's going to look like this year, though, with with Danhausen. So,
and did you see that they're releasing, I guess, the Cold Stone Danhausen?
Yes, yes, some cool figures, and I know you're going to talk more about figures on an episode of Question Everything. So, yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on with that on that end, and again, that's where I worry with WWE making all this money and all these cool things, that they're going to continue to do the things that they do. And so, but yeah, there's no, and we'll save this for a conversation later. And maybe you have this conversation when you do your podcast, but the Stone Cold Steve Austin figure that is coming out is the one of him dressed up like the Doctor the night he beat up Vince McMahon in the hospital.
Bedpan McMahon.
Yeah. Vince is, and I noticed the picture they used, it's very cropped of just Austin. So McMahon's not involved anymore. And that's the night that we see the debut of Mr. Sacco with Mick Foley, Mankind, who is no longer associated with WWE. So it's interesting timing. And I know that these figures, obviously, they don't just wake up one morning and decide we're doing this figure. So I'll be curious to see how they promote this figure, or if they just kind of leave it the way it is. But two of the other principal players in that story are no longer, or allegedly no longer associated with WWE. But yeah, I'll be curious to see. But anyway, anything else, Chad, on SummerSlam before we wrap up this week's episode?
Just not SummerSlam, but I'll mention AEW Redemption tonight, just to kind of earn some cred back from the pro WWE crowd. I think tonight's pay-per-view is another one that, if I wasn't a diehard, easily skippable. Not because the matches aren't good, but you're building towards All In. You've got a lame duck title match on the show. I'm sure things are going to happen, although I think more things will happen on Thursday when they're in Detroit, if you know what I'm hinting at. And then we'll see what happens at All In. I think All In will be the bigger surprises.
Okay. Definitely.
Maybe. But it'll be could be a fresh sunrise.
Okay. Well, we'll talk off air, because I don't have any clue what you're talking about right now. So.
All right. Other than that, I was just say there's something I was going to say with action figures and whatnot, but I don't remember what it was. SummerSlam again. I'm going to be traveling on Saturday, so I don't know if we'll just wait and watch the show later when I get to my destination. I mean, I'll definitely watch it. I don't know if the people I am going to be staying with, if they'll have already watched, or
Uh-huh.
if they'll wait until I get there. Sunday night, I have a concert, so I'll watch it probably Monday at some point. But yeah, again, watching it later too also means you can skip through all the,
Yeah.
so the show's like half as long as it actually is. So
Well,
that's a
I
benefit.
won't snap you anything.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, other than that, I got nothing else.
All righty. For Chad Smart, I am Kevin Hunsberger. Thanks for listening and or watching. We will see you next time.